Hey everyone, welcome back to our channel. If you're new here, please subscribe. I'd really love that. If you're returning, how you doing? Um, we have some things to discuss, okay? And the first thing is to make sure you have coffee and some snacks, okay? Maybe a pillow behind the back. And let's get into it. So, this first email comes in from a community member and she's talking about data centers. Now, I had discussed data center before. I believe it was in Georgia. And the people that lived in Georgia, um, they had purchased like a many acre farm and they were there living comfortably. And then all of a sudden, Meta decided to build this ginormous data center, and now they have like no running water, and it's just like hell on earth, pretty much. Okay, so now a community member is dealing with the same thing. Okay, but before I go any farther, hey there, my name is Autumn, and on this channel, we talk about different things, okay, whether it's prepping or homesteading, gardening, or even current events. I have my second channel, ABG Prepping, and over there we talk about current events. And I also have a Patreon channel. And over there we talk about things that we can't talk about here due to YouTube's terms and policies, okay? And the links are in the description box below. So, she said that there are 3 data centers currently being proposed. 2 are in our county, one 15 minutes from my home. She said, mind you, they tell the people 0 of the cons and make it sound so great. She said they don't mention the vast amount of water that they use or the incredible amount of power needed. They don't mention about the tiny particles of waste that are too small to filter out. And they aren't even telling people who own these centers or where the funding is going. So you saw the picture that I put up. Okay, so this is like an aerial view, okay? And this is just very concerning because, you got to figure if this is going up, okay, in just these small little towns, can you imagine how many more of these are going to be going up in our small little towns, right? Because this is in Indianapolis, okay, in Minnesota. So this is going to be 465 acres, okay, of data center that are going to be surrounding homes on all 3 sides, okay, of this housing development. Okay, so it's almost seems like it's going to be encasing this housing development. All right. And this is just, it's not, it's almost like they're not taking into consideration here, but they don't even care, honestly. The dangers that come along with having these data centers surrounding homes, okay? It's not just the water pressure. It's not just the particles in the air. It's not just the electricity that gets drawn. It's not just, there's so much, okay? And I want you to do your research, okay? Form your own opinions because you're going to need to. You're going to need to, okay? Seriously, you're going to need to. Because if not, these data centers are going to start popping up everywhere where we all live. And we're all going to be affected by these. And then you're going to say, well, what do I do now? Well, how is this going to affect me? You know? And then you're going to think to yourself, oh, wait, she did a video on this. I should know. You know what I mean? So please just do your research now so you are well aware of what's really going to happen. Okay? So now I'm going to leave you with some videos that were sent in by other community members, and these are very, very informational and very educational. Okay, so you guys have a great day. I will see you in the next one. All right, you stay safe, you stay positive, you keep prepping, and as always, fearless. Ciao.
Just a few hours after we got into their headquarters, we found that their chief accountant had actually deleted over 1 terabyte of accounting records from several years. So you'd have to ask the question, well, why would somebody do that? The Doge team, fortunately, was able to recover that data with the help of a few great employees at the Institute of Peace. And I think the most troubling thing was they received $55 million a year from Congress, and any money that went unspent, instead of returning that to Congress, they would sweep it into a private bank account, which had no congressional oversight. And that's what they would use to fund things like events at their headquarters and the private jets. And so I think it's a great example because most Americans don't know what's going on at a lot of these smaller agencies. And this is, I think, the most extreme case of some of the wasteful spend that we're finding.
So the agencies are hiding money from you. They're sending it to the Taliban. They have loaded weapons in the department buildings.
At the Institute of Peace.
At the Institute of Peace.
Yes.
That's right.
So this is a cover-up when you guys roll in.
This one, yes, a cover-up. Yes.
It's a cover-up.
No, they did delete a vast amount of financial information. That's really a definition of a cover-up.
Isn't that illegal to delete evidence?
Yes.
Shred documents?
It is. It's certainly illegal to delete accounting records that that Congress would certainly want to know where the congressionally appropriated funds are going from taxpayers.
When you catch them going Hillary style on their computers, do you refer this to the Department of Justice?
In this case, we did refer the evidence in the accounting example to the FBI and DOJ, and we were proud to do that. So yes, we did.
Resistance has shown up in some very surprising places. So for example, the famous fork in the road email, the deferred resignation program. So this was a program where you could resign from the government, collect pay and benefits for the next 8 months. Probably the most attractive separation program ever in human history. And the resistance actually came from the outside with people saying this is a trick. And I heard somebody refer to it as an apple with a razor blade. And no, this was just a really juicy apple, caramel dipped apple. It was that good, but people were talked out of taking it. And now what started to happen is we did have about 80,000 people take it, and now those folks who did take it are on the beach or they've moved on to a new job and they're still getting paid. And so now we're starting to offer Fork 2 and Fork 3, where people can see that someone's eaten this apple and it was actually really tasty and good for them.
Is Doge just getting started? This is a long-term enterprise.
It's a long-term enterprise because if we take our eye off the ball, the waste and fraud will come roaring back.
They can Doge when Democrats get back in power.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think some of the things that, like, we're trying to have it be such that the funding is removed, so the grants are gone. So there's a lot of work required to restart the waste and fraud, and that will at least slow it down. We normally go around the table, say what do we get done this week?
Want to go this way?
Sure. No, we start with you.
Sure. So actually, a lot of great work at the Treasury this week. One of the crazy things with regards to the Treasury is that when a payment is made, and the computers at the Treasury actually pay about $5 trillion per year, like crazy amounts, there was formerly not a budget code on there. So if a payment was made, you didn't know actually what it was for. It could have been for anything.
Yeah.
There was a $4 billion COVID fund in the Department of Education. And there was no receipts required, so people could just draw down on it. And when people looked into it, this wasn't us, this was before us, they found that money was being used to rent out Caesar's Palace for parties, rent out stadiums, et cetera. And so the one change that Doge made with the Department of Education is we had the simple requirement that if you draw down money, you must first upload a receipt. That was the only change that was made. You must upload your receipt. And upon doing so,
Yes.
nobody drew down any money anymore.
Yes, but we didn't say that we'd check the receipt. You could send a fake receipt. You could send a picture of your dog. Anything. Anything. But as soon as we asked for anything at all, suddenly the requests were like, oh, we don't need it anymore. Huh, that's interesting.
They were renting Caesar's Palace.
Yes, they were like basically partying on the taxpayer money.
Stadiums.
Yes.
Leasing stadiums.
Leasing stadiums.
For what?
For parties, basically.
For parties.
Yes.
That's a big party.
It's a big party.
You'd think if you were stealing, you'd start small.
They do start small. But then what happens is over the years, so generally the fraud starts out small and they try to hide it. But then year after year, if nobody stops the fraud, it gets more and more brazen. And every year it gets bigger until they're literally renting out stadiums. Like
what's that, $1 million to rent out a stadium?
Fraud in flagrante delicto, okay? We're talking at scale.
Song says it's fun to stay at the YMCA, but not this one. A mom and her daughter were in the women's locker room at the Y in Kansas City, and bam!
It was less than 10 days ago when a Metro mother and her daughter had finished up swimming lessons where she says hundreds of children attended. They went to the women's locker room to change. That's when she says she heard a man's voice. She then decided to leave, but as she and her child walked out of the stall, they encountered a naked man, his privates on full display. She asked what in the world he was doing. The woman claims he said something to the effect of, quote, "Honey, I'm a woman."
Primetime contacted the Y. First they said people are allowed to use the locker rooms they identify with. And then they said, quote, "No one, especially kids, should ever feel unsafe at the YMCA. This is unacceptable and a violation of our core values."